The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, Decoding Dystopia. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is Decoding Dystopia, Literature as Prophecy, where we analyze dystopian fiction not as fantasy, but as predictive programming for the modern world. In this breakdown, we turn to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, a work that lays out, in disturbing detail, how reproductive control, theological law, and biometric surveillance can merge to form a totalitarian system where biology becomes state infrastructure. Atwood's fictional society, the Republic of Gilead, is born from collapse. Fertility rates have plummeted due to environmental toxicity, sexually transmitted disease, and widespread social decline. In response, a religious extremist regime seizes control, implementing a new world order centered entirely on reproduction. The handmaids, fertile women captured and reassigned to the elite ruling class, are used solely for breeding. These women are stripped of their names, denied autonomy, and assigned to commanders for ceremonial reproduction. Their lives are governed by doctrine, not desire. Their function is their identity. The novel's power lies not in how shocking it is, but in how logical its structure is. Every element of Gilead is meticulously organized. There is no randomness. There is only control. Reproduction is not private. It is public policy. Sexuality is not intimate. It is ceremonial. Pregnancy is not a choice. It is a civic duty. In Gilead, fertility is framed as sacred, but in practice, it is nationalized, quantified, and weaponized. And critically, Atwood didn't invent any of this. Every policy in Gilead is based on historical precedent. She said herself, "Nothing in the book hasn't happened somewhere before." This is why The Handmaid's Tale matters now more than ever. The technology, policy frameworks, and ideological justifications used in Gilead are already emerging in our world. In this video, we'll examine how Atwood's fiction is functioning as a strategic manual, a guide for how governments, corporations, and religious groups may already be moving toward reproductive authoritarianism under the banners of tradition, safety, and biological crisis. In Gilead, the most basic personal right, reproductive freedom, is eliminated through language, law, and surveillance. Women are classified not by personality, talent, or individuality, but by biological capacity. Those who can bear children are reprogrammed into handmaids. Their value to the state is entirely based on womb function. Their former lives are erased. Their names are changed. Offred, literally of Fred, her assigned commander, is not a person. She is property, and that property is expected to perform. This reflects the increasingly data-driven approach to reproduction in the modern world. Fertility apps now track ovulation, sexual activity, and hormonal levels. That data is not always private. It is shared with third parties, insurance companies, or, in some cases, law enforcement. Already, there have been prosecutions where app data was used as evidence. Some jurisdictions in the United States have moved to classify the embryo as a legal person. Others have pursued criminal charges for miscarriages. The body is no longer solely a biological reality. It is becoming a forensic record, with every hormone and contraction monitored and judged. Gilead does not rely on brute force alone. It uses language to shape consciousness. The vocabulary of Gilead is ritualistic and restrictive. Phrases like, "blessed be the fruit," and "under his eye," are required in public. These sayings are not small talk. They are surveillance mechanisms. They allow the regime to detect non-compliance in the most casual interactions. Language becomes a diagnostic tool. Deviance is linguistically traceable. Today we see the rise of similar patterns. Social media algorithms flag posts based on emotional tone, terminology, and linguistic risk. AI-driven moderation evaluates sentiment and suppresses speech not aligned with platform guidelines or government mandates. Political language is regulated both legally and culturally. Compliance is measured through speech. As in Gilead, refusal to speak the approved language is framed as aggression. Another key structure in Gilead is the ceremony. This state-mandated act requires the handmaid to be raped by the commander in the presence of his wife. It is framed as a religious ritual, based on scripture, performed monthly in accordance with the handmaid's fertility cycle. There is no intimacy, no love, and no consent. It is violence masquerading as obedience. It is justified by sacred language and ritual precision. The ceremony isn't just shocking, it's strategic. It removes personal accountability by embedding the act within theocratic legitimacy. This mirrors how real-world structures use institutional ritual to cover for moral transgression. Today, we see systemic violations of autonomy, denial of medical choice, criminalization of abortion, forced birth policies, all dressed in the language of sanctity, life, or family. Coercion is framed as protection. Control is reframed as care. The handmaid's children are not theirs to keep. Once the child is born, it is taken by the wives of the elite, who raise it as their own. The handmaid returns to duty, assigned to another household, another commander, another cycle. Motherhood is reduced to function. Love is irrelevant. Gilead does not recognize biological parenthood. It recognizes legal custody assigned by rank and ideology. This separation between birth and parenting reflects trends already taking root. State intervention in parenting decisions is expanding. government oversight of parental rights is increasing. In some cases, children can be removed from parents for non-compliance with medical procedures or ideological alignment. AI parenting tools are being introduced. Children's behavior is tracked by learning platforms. Parental choice is shrinking, and biometric tracking is expanding. The state is quietly positioning itself not just as a partner to parents, but as a superior authority on parenting outcomes. The enforcement of Gilead's regime is not carried out primarily by men. It is maintained by women trained to uphold the system. The aunts are a caste of indoctrinators who supervise the handmaids. They punish disobedience, teach submission, and reinforce the legitimacy of the system. This is critical. Gilead doesn't rely on brute force. It relies on belief. This form of internal enforcement mirrors real cultural dynamics. Systems of oppression often succeed by recruiting members of the oppressed group to police one another. Social media outrage mobs, peer-driven ideological purges, educational spaces where conformity is enforced from within. These are modern ants, people convinced that punishment is necessary for ideological purity and that personal subjugation is virtuous. Even literacy is removed in Gilead. Handmaids are not allowed to read or write. Their access to information is eliminated. They become dependent on religious authorities to interpret the world. Atwood knew the power of this move. When people cannot read, they cannot organize, document, or learn. Information becomes a tool of the regime, not a public resource. Today, information restriction is less obvious, but no less effective. Knowledge is filtered through algorithms. Search results are curated. History is revised. Books are banned or rewritten. AI chat systems produce politically sanitized versions of contested events. If the public receives only approved narratives, their sense of truth becomes manufactured. The handmaids don't just lose access to books, they lose access to context. That's what is happening now, through digital curation and ideological data restriction. Atwood's ending is also essential. Offred's story is not resolved through escape or revolution. Instead, we learn that her account was recorded in secret and found years later by scholars studying the fall of Gilead. This act of storytelling, recording her memory, preserving her truth, is her rebellion. It is her contribution to the future. This message is profound. Resistance is not always a dramatic act. Sometimes it is the decision to remember. In the face of erasure, memory becomes resistance. In the face of censorship, testimony becomes power. Today, that principle remains true. Systems can only rewrite history if no one is documenting the truth. The protection of memory, of lived experience, personal language, original meaning, is foundational to freedom. In sum, The Handmaid's Tale is not speculative anymore. It is descriptive. Reproductive data is tracked and monetized. Fertility is a matter of national interest. Autonomy is redefined by policy. Consent is manipulated through doctrine. Language is regulated. Surveillance is ubiquitous. And every one of these features has precedent. This is not a story about the oppression of women alone. It is a systemization of control through biology. It shows how technology, religion, bureaucracy, and psychology can merge into a total institution where your body becomes your prison and your memories your only weapon. We must recognize these patterns, not as fiction, but as formation, and we must guard against their normalization. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research, not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking, decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.